You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Wednesday, September 4th, and it is the first Way Back Wednesday show of the season on 49K, which means another season of Steph and Stats. Rob, it's game week. We get football as early as tomorrow. The 49ers play in 5 days. How are we feeling?
Oh, the vibes are at an all-time high. I mean, it's game week. You know, I fill in on ESPN radio sometimes and over the summer, and they always have the big voice go, "We are 89 days away from football." We're 2 days away, 1 day away. What am I saying? 1 day away from real football. I am in heaven right now.
And look, I know we feel a way about the Kansas City Chiefs, but Thursday night game, Chiefs, Ravens, that's a really good matchup. I can't wait to see that game, not just because it's opening day game, but also because it has some replay value, I think. I expect that to be quite the entrance for the NFL season this year. So the script writers, they're starting off hot, I think. So, yeah, definitely excited about that. And you mentioned it. The vibes are high, not just because the NFL season is around the corner, but I would say because the 49er vibes are high. You know, yesterday, Trent Williams getting his deal done with the 49ers. It's a 3-year deal, $82.66 million. The big man gets a lot of money, definitely deserved, and a lot of guaranteed money, which I think is definitely what he was looking for. So he said he wanted security, and he definitely got it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think he needs security considering his career earnings. Like, I thought it was funny when I think it was Mayoko was like, "What was your goal with this?" And he was like, "Oh, security." I wish he was just like, "More money was my goal." Like, that's fine to want to say that. I think he had 77 million left on his current deal. Now, it wasn't guaranteed. So he got obviously much more guaranteed, and he got a little bump as he has definitely deserved. So it's what the 49ers should have done. I wish they had done it sooner. I don't love the idea of him having to face a great Jets defense in week 1 and, you know, with basically no time to prepare. But we got to hope and rely that he can at least be good enough to protect Brock Purdy on Monday night.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Of course, the 49ers waiting to the 11th hours. They, at this point, normally do. I'm just saying this is normal for them. I hate it. But this is what comes with the territory of waiting this long. You have guys who may or may not be ready for week 1, and we'll just have to see on Monday night. I do appreciate that at the very least, the 49ers do have that extra day, being that their game is Monday night. So Trent joining the team yesterday, that bonus practice, good for him to get some reps in before Monday. But let's see where he compares in the OT market with the rest of the tackles in average per year. Obviously, Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell still at the top. Trent Williams at third with $27.55 million. And I think this is a good spot. Like, I think a lot of people were expecting that Trent would want to be the highest paid tackle in the league. But I mean, you said it. I think obviously he wanted money out of this, but clearly he didn't care to be the top guy. He knows where he's at in his career. So 3-year deal, 27.55 average per year. I'm not mad at it, honestly.
The thing that I sort of loved from his press conference, and man, if he ever wanted to go into the media afterwards, he could absolutely do it. He said basically like he wants to play until he's 40, maybe even into his 40s. He specifically referenced Andrew Whitworth, who of course was playing at 40, 41, winning Super Bowls, I might add. So like he doesn't sound like a guy that's ready to walk away anytime soon. And God knows the 49ers need him and they'll take him. So I loved hearing that from Trent Williams. He said he was depressed watching other teams at training camp. Like he missed camp. He missed football. So as long as he wants to play, I know the 49ers will have him and they took care of him. So I guess all is well that ends well.
Yeah, and it's definitely a good sign for the 49ers that, Trent, not only does he want to play that long, but obviously he feels he can play that long. So, okay, fine, 49ers. You don't need to, draft another left tackle, but you probably still should in the next few years. I'm sure fans will be waiting for that to happen. And if not, we'll be angry again. But you have Trent Williams for at least the next couple years, and that's a good thing. Now we're still waiting on the final details, like the year-to-year breakdown of the Trent Williams contract. These are just kind of the initial numbers that we have so far. But we do know that the 49ers did save some money in 2024 with the slew of moves that they've made. First, the Brandon Ayuk extension, they were able to save 8.3 million in 2024. They also converted 6.79 million of Malik Collins' 2024 salary into a signing bonus, added 3 void years. It's a lot. Like the cap is fake. 3 void years. What even is that? But that was able to create a little over 5.4 million in cap space this year. And of course, again, initial numbers on Trent Williams, so we'll probably know more for sure after. But Jason Hurley of he's like the 49ers cap guru. He said that it was able to free up 13.8 million Trent Williams extension for this year. And lastly, Deebo Samuel restructured his contract. They were able to turn 19 million of his 2024 base salary into a signing bonus. They added a void year in 2028. So his cap hit was greatly reduced in 2024. They saved up 16.4 million. Jesus, like what are they cooking over there? Look, before we get into what they might be planning for all of this cap space, besides obvious reasons, I do want to talk about Deebo here for a bit, because his restructure to me is the most interesting one out of all of these, because I think we were looking at Deebo as kind of a low-hanging fruit guy who might not be here beyond 2024. Like we were looking at 2024 Deebo, contract year Deebo, right? And it kind of feels like with the restructuring of his contract, it might be a vote of confidence or some kind of commitment to Deebo beyond 2024, right?
I was really surprised by the Deebo restructure. Like I didn't see it coming. Usually when they restructure a guy, it means they're going to be around at least for a couple more years. Now they did restructure Eric Armstead last September, and of course he's not here, so it's not a guarantee. But Deebo himself said earlier this offseason he knew what he signed up for when he signed the contract. And I don't think it's a coincidence, by the way, that Deebo Samuel has been at every non-mandatory camp and he's been at every practice and he's in shape and he looks good, because it was essentially shaping up as a contract year for him. So I wasn't shocked by that. I really thought that I wasn't shocked that he showed up in shape. I mean, I really thought this was going to be his last dance with the 49ers, and it still may be, but maybe not now. And I think that restructure to me is a move signaling that his chances are maybe better than 50-50 that he's going to be in San Francisco. And I would have said, especially with Brandon Ayuk extended, there was no chance of that beyond this year before that.
Right. Yeah. And I'm honestly not mad at it, because again, and maybe it's the recency bias thing, but when I watched the Netflix receiver series and I saw Deebo Samuel from like this different perspective, right? His day-to-day, and also just remembering what he did for that team last season. And just in general, like what he's done for this team, he's a special player. Like you can't put a price on that. So I'm honestly not mad at it that they are bringing him back. I just don't know if there's anyone else on this team who could do what he does for them. So yeah, I would definitely welcome both Brandon Ayuk, of course, and Deebo Samuel being here beyond 2024. Definitely not a bad thing. But going back to the cap money that they've saved, they're at a 42 million 985,313 in the current cap. Not too bad.
Let's call it 50 or 43. I should say 43.
Okay, sure. Let's just round up a little bit. 43 million. They're about there. So obviously we know Brock Purdy is due to get his deal next offseason, right? And they probably want to get that done and want to have some money, put aside for that. Now, that's the obvious thing. There's also some other guys that they got to pay, like maybe Lenore, maybe Mooney. I mean, I don't know. There's definitely some guys who are going to be due for paydays, not just Brock. But I always wonder, like, we look at the last 2-3 seasons as these all-in years for the 49ers. This is like another Super Bowl or bust, but maybe this 2024 year more than all those other years. So I don't know. Like, I feel like there's still that possibility that the 49ers could make a swing mid-season trade like they have in the past. I mean, could you see that happening, or you're thinking they're rolling all this to next year?
I think in a perfect world, they would roll it all to next year. I think that would be ideal, because what that would mean is they didn't need to make sort of the break glass in case of emergency acquisition, right? There was no Chase Young trade or Randy Gregory deal. Like, I think if they had their druthers, they would say, great, let's roll it all over to next year. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, like, the 49ers are projected to be over the cap next year. So it's like paying off a credit card, oh, you're 60 million over the cap. Well, if we have 50 million in cap room or 43 million in cap room, we could roll over. You basically apply that to the deficit, and then all of a sudden you're not 60 million over, you're 10 million over, whatever the case may be. So I think that's what they're trying to prepare for, and that's what they would love to do. But I do wonder, if they start 3-5, right, or 3-6, like we've seen them start in recent years, and they need another offensive lineman or whatever the case may be, corner, who knows? Do they make that move? They have the flexibility to do it, and I think that's also something that they like.
And I think they always know with the contracts that they have that a lot of them have the flexibility of restructuring, reworking when they need. So yes, this is not the end of them, I would imagine, and we could probably expect more next off season. So, and especially if they do decide to make a move. But I do agree. Like, I don't think they want to make a mid-season move, because that means you're probably lacking in an area that you feel like you need a boost. So hopefully they don't need to, and hopefully they can use all of this money towards next season. Although as fans, sometimes like we like exciting things, and exciting things are mid-season trades. So we'll just see what happens there. But 49ers good on the money side for now. Now, little halftime break here. 49K partnered up with the Locker app. So if you guys want to join the 49K League on the Locker app, do some daily fantasy contests on game days, download the Locker app. The link is down in the description of this video, and it will be for the audio listeners as well. Search league name 49K to join. Use a promo code LFG50. And you'll receive a first deposit match up to $50. So be sure to do that. We'll have a lot of fun this season. But, Rob, are you ready? I think it's time for a 49ers vibe check. Let's see where we're at. All right. So with all the the arrow keeps going up. I mean, with the last week, this is what the vibes were like last week. That big dip was Ricky Pearsall's shooting, and then after that we're just up. We're up. Ricky Pearsall, by the way, we got some updates from John Lynch yesterday regarding him, and it seems like the 49ers are still optimistic that he's going to be able to play in some capacity this year. So obviously back in the building with the 49ers, that is a great, great sign. And now every time you hear about the Ricky Pearsall shooting at this point, now it's like miraculous. Like, that's the word I keep hearing people use about this. And yeah, nothing short of that. So good sign for Ricky Pearsall. Of course, we continue to wish him a speedy recovery, both physically and mentally. But Rob, vibes are pretty high going into week one. It almost feels like this offense is never had any issues at all, right?
Well, the vibes are high for sure, but you've got two significant pieces that have had no preseason whatsoever. And I always say you can only get ready for football by playing football. You could do practice and stuff, but I really feel like not being in the games is going to affect them week one. I wouldn't be shocked to see Brandon Ayuk, have a very low snap count. Now it's a little more difficult with Trent Williams, so we'll see. But I don't know that they're back up to full speed 100%. Don't forget, Christian McCaffrey hasn't been practicing at all either with the calf injury. So, you don't know if he's going to be full speed. But just having everybody back, and maybe you have to lean more on Debo and George Kittle, right? Imagine that. You're two all pros on offense. Like, let's do that. And so I don't know that they're going to be full speed, but at least everybody's back. Everybody's in the building. The Ricky Pearsall thing. I mean, John Lynch used the word miraculous 3 times at the podium because it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to say a sentence out loud that sounds ridiculous and is 100% true. Ready? After Ricky Pearsall was shot through the chest, he walked to the ambulance. Like, what? It's crazy. The bullet didn't hit bone. It didn't hit. There was no nerve damage. It didn't hit his spine, his lungs, his heart. This sounds weird to say, but like, if you could have picked a path for the bullet to travel that hit Ricky Pearsall in the chest, you probably would have picked the one that happened. John Lynch didn't just say that Ricky Pearsall could come back this season. He was like, oh yeah. Like it was like a nonchalant. Like, yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and like I said, he's already back in the building. Weight room was the word used when I don't know, like, if he was doing weights. I don't know if that's what that meant. I doubt that. But in any case, him just being there in the building is great. And we heard Trent Williams say, like, part of the reason he wanted to be back yesterday was because of Ricky Pearsall. And so I think, it's something that's going to unite this team. And I can't wait for Ricky to return to game action. I just know there's going to be a standing ovation for that man. I'm sure, like, if this weekend or Monday night they put him on the Jumbotron for any reason, like, place is going to explode. I mean, it's going to explode.
No, Steph. You get Ricky Pearsall a boombox and he leads the team out of the tunnel.
I was like, what? What do you mean no? I like that idea way better.
Put Ricky in the jersey. He'll probably have a sling. I would imagine his arm will be in a sling or whatever it is. But whatever you got to do, Ricky Pearsall has to lead the team out of the tunnel. Can you imagine? The roof would come off Levi's.
Oh my God. Whoever's responsible for game day experiences, cool stuff like that happen at Levi's game days, please listen to this and please have Ricky Pearsall maybe he shouldn't be holding the boombox. Might be a little sensitive, but as long as he's there walking out of the tunnel with the rest of the team, man, that would be fire. I really hope the 49ers do consider that. I'm sure they're going to do something special. I know John Lynch was asked if the sergeant, Joel, was going to be there for the game, and it seems like they're trying to work something out for that as well. So that would also, have a bit of a roar from the crowd if they could get that going. But yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons to feel positive about this 49ers season now. It's kind of weird because literally just a week ago, like, we were all disgruntled and angry, and I was doing videos about the 49ers, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they're so fed up, and it just feels like a 180 turn. But Rob, you were mentioning just some of the guys who, maybe not practicing. You mentioned Christian McCaffrey. He did return to practice though yesterday, and it seems like he's good and the calf strain is behind him. I do recall when they did talk about that calf strain during camp that it did sound like something that was more precautionary, that they were keeping him out of practice for. So yeah, it doesn't seem like the calf strain is going to be an issue. Trent Williams, of course, was back. Oh yeah, what?
Let me interrupt you just for 1 second, because I was thinking the same thing, but then I saw a column from Kawakami today who says, will Christian McCaffrey be at top speed after returning to practice Wednesday after weeks off to tend to a calf injury? Possibly not for a while. Now, maybe he's just throwing that in there, or I don't know. Does Tim know more about the injury than we do? I have no idea. But when I saw that in there, I was like, damn, I didn't think it was anything to worry about. But now that has me worried.
So Tim K, like, he's great, right? Obviously, I love his stuff on The Athletic, but he's not always at practice. So I don't know if he just didn't know that Christian McCaffrey was back on Tuesday. I saw multiple reports that McCaffrey in pads, practicing. So yeah, not sure. I guess we'll learn a little bit more today. And like I said, I don't think there's any limitations to Christian McCaffrey, but I guess we'll know a little bit more on that. But yeah, Trent Williams back at practice, Aaron Banks back, Juwan Jennings, who was out for a couple weeks with the oblique, is back. So, adding on to the vibes here, adding on to the vibes. So the question I have is, yes, the vibes are great, but is that like enough for a week 1 win? Energy alone is not always the deciding factor between a win and a loss. We know the 49ers have a lot of, I guess, momentum going into this game. And by the way, the Jets have a loose end. They haven't tied with Hassan Reddick, the only player still holding out. So, I mean, things aren't perfect on their end either. But, 49ers would be wise to, still be a little cautious and not overlook the Jets in this game.
100%. They have a great defense. They're going to want to make an announcement to the world like, hey, our quarterback is back and we just took down the defending NFC champion, big bad 49ers in their house. Like, they're going to be amped up for this game 1,000%. So you better come strong, and you better come strong right out of the gate, which is in week 1, not always what happens with Kyle's offense. Sometimes it takes them a little while to get up and running, and they are going to earn every single bit of it. I think the over-under for the game is like 43.5. So Vegas is kind of predicting like a, 20-22 game. I would, if you told me the Niners are going to score 23 points right now, I think I would take it.
What? I'm like, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm thinking this game is going to be low scoring. Like, I think max 17 points between both these teams. Like,
Wow.
honestly, because I think both teams they both have good defenses. There's some question marks we still have on the 49ers run defense. What was that going to look like? What is this defensive line going to look like without Eric Armstead? But I still feel like it's going to be a low-scoring game because Aaron Rodgers didn't participate in the preseason. He's a full year without playing football. I mean, at this point, I just feel like they're going to kind of ease into things with Aaron Rodgers, which, yes, going to mean a lot of Breece Hall. And maybe, like I said, if the 49ers continue to struggle with the run defense, maybe the Jets will score a lot of points. But, I still feel like this is going to be a low scoring game, like very unsexy game. I think
First
a little
all,
sloppy.
You did the exact thing that I have been doing. I think it's because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, because the Jets and the Packers both wear green. Like, I've been saying Packers when I mean Jets. It's annoying, but I've been doing the same thing. Excuse me. I hope that it starts slow, but I could see a reality where Breece Hall is gashing the 49ers and Rodgers gets to just live off play actions and, has to make a couple of big third down throws. I'm sure he'll be targeting Devondre Campbell if he's the other linebacker that's out there. I don't know. I don't feel good about it. I took the Jets +4 in the game. I'm just going to spoil that now. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Niners started the year 0-1.
Oh God. Well, I get it. Like week 1 is always that very uncertain week where you don't really know what your team is going to look like. We already talked about the Jets being very hungry to get 2023 off their back, just the way that ended. And, as Jedi in the comments here points out, 49ers put a 30 burger on Pittsburgh last year in week 1. I recall, before week 1 last year, me being a little concerned about that game. It could be a toss up. It felt like vibes were good for Pittsburgh before the season. And then, we know what happened. And then there were the questions about Brock Purdy. Now you don't have those questions, right? But still, I feel like that fast start for the 49ers felt more like an exception than the expectation for this team, and especially coming off a Super Bowl loss, this crazy offseason that it's been for them. I don't know. I just feel like a slow start is my expectation for this team. They could still win. They could still be sloppy, slow, and still get the win, but that's just the kind of game I'm expecting in this one.
I can't wait. I'm just so oh my god. Like it's as frustrating as it is to have to wait the extra day. Part of me is kind of looking forward to just being able to chill on Sunday and like let me sit
Oh
back.
yeah.
So I always do the 3 H's, especially for opening week, Steph. I don't know if I've ever told you this.
I don't think
Opening
so.
week, I go 3 H's. Heineken, hot wings, Haagen-Dazs for dessert. That's what I do on opening day of NFL Week 1. The 3 H's. Try it. I'm telling you, it won't let you down. It's phenomenal. And I'll just be able to sit there Sunday with my 3 H's, gorging my face and enjoying football. I can't wait.
Rob, are you the kind of person who needs a sweet treat after like dinner?
Not usually. I'm not a huge dessert guy, but special occasions, like I won't go and get like a big phenomenal dessert. Like just give me like a scoop of chocolate ice cream and I'll be happy as a pig in shit.
But yeah, like there's always people who have the hankering. No matter how much they ate for dinner, they're so full. They even have leftovers. It's like I could go for some ice cream right now. Like that's like my fiance Taylor's the same way, and I'm just like, oh my god, where do you fit this? But yeah, Rob, are you ready for Way Back Wednesday, our new segment?
Always.
All right. Well, I gave Rob the preface. I'll tell you before. If you guys knew our show from last season, we did it on Thursday. It was kind of like a throwback Thursday kind of thing we did then. We did This Week in 49ers history and have a history tidbit of the 49ers pertaining to that week. But, this time I'm switching it up a little bit and I'm focusing on the opponent of that week for the 49ers. And of course, as we know, this week it is the Jets. The 49ers and the Jets have faced each other 14 total times. The 49ers hold the all-time record quite favorably, 11-3. That definitely makes me feel confident. I know it's one of those things where like the Super Bowl when the 49ers hadn't lost yet, like okay, no correlation to being undefeated in the Super Bowl and this team now, but I mean, it still makes me feel good and it gives reason to people saying that the Jets never going to win anything. I'll always pick the Niners over the Jets. So now I think I get it. It makes a lot of sense.
The Jets are a poverty franchise, and they pretty much always have been. Let's be honest.
Subtle, Rob.
They are. Who has the longest playoff drought in North American professional sports? The Jets. Like, it's not an accident. They are a poverty franchise. They have one Super Bowl in their career. They've only ever been to one Super Bowl in their franchise history. They're not a serious organization. The 49ers are a serious organization. So I'd like to see them go out and kick a little ass.
I love it. This is why I have you on the show, Rob, and I love going through these history tidbits with you. All right, so let's talk about this game against the 49ers and Jets, September 6th, 1998. Yes, it was a week 1 game in which in overtime the 49ers won 36-30. And if you recall, it was because in OT, 49ers running back Garrison Hurst scored the winning touchdown, 96 yards to the house for the win. Do you remember that play that day, Rob?
Yeah, clear as a bell. I remember it 100%. So it was 1998, right? So I was like, 14 years old, around there. I'm not going to do the actual math in my head. The thing I remember about this play is if you go on YouTube and you watch it, Terrell Owens is 70 yards downfield blocking for Garrison Hurst to help him get into the end zone at the end. He gets like no credit for it whatsoever. He is flying down the field as Hurst is running. I believe it is still the longest touchdown touchdown run in franchise history. I don't think anybody has topped that. I was watching it. My best friend in the world was a Jets fan at the time too, so that was extra sweet because not only did they lose, but they gave it up on a 96-yard run. So it was unbelievable, and it's definitely like one of the 49ers plays that is etched in my memory.
See, this is why I love having Rob on the show to do these like historic moments because like you're like an encyclopedia of 49er memories, I feel like, because not only do you remember it, but you have all these other facts about it too. Like I didn't know that was the longest running touchdown for the 49ers.
It's because I'm
and
old.
you
You
have
could
all these
say it.
other facts.
You could say
Well,
it.
I mean, you have better memory than I do because I got the memory of a goldfish. I can't even remember probably some moments from last season of this team. So, uh, but yeah, that's why I have him on. And Nick agrees. Great combo having Rob. I definitely agree with that as well. He's the
Yeah.
best. But yeah, but let's look at some. Oh wait, before I skip over, I just want to say just a little final thing on that game. Hurst finished with 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Steve Young was 26 for 36,
Mm.
363 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was quite the day for the 49ers. But we're going to continue looking at some connections between the 49ers and Jets. And for the obvious reasons, Robert Saleh, former 49ers defensive coordinator, now the head coach, he hasn't had the greatest fortune, right, being the head coach of the Jets so far. But he has brought along a lot of former 49ers. So you got DJ Reed, you got Javon Kinlaw, who signed this offseason, Solomon Thomas, and Isaiah Oliver. When I found out Isaiah Oliver was with the Jets, I was like, I'm sorry. But he is kind of buried on the depth chart. So I don't think we'll be getting the revenge game out of him. But maybe Kinlaw. Like Kinlaw's marked as a starter for this team next to Quinnen Williams. So that could be a fun little matchup there.
And I think he's got a little extra motivation to put it on the 49ers, quite frankly. And to be honest, he may get some opportunities because I think Quinnen Williams is going to absolutely eat in the interior of this 49ers offense. Like, ooh, it's going to be scary. I hope that Jake Brendel is, just not a complete disaster there, but he's going to have some success. So the 49ers better institute the Aaron Donald game plan because Quinnen Williams will absolutely wreck plays.
Yeah, he definitely will. I am a little nervous about the 49ers offensive line. Happy Trent is back, of course, but hope he's 100%. In any case, Aaron Banks, say a prayer. Say a prayer for Aaron Banks, before this game because it could get ugly for him. And yes, I did join the Jets podcast earlier this week, and that's how I found out that Isaiah Oliver was on the team because they kind of just nonchalantly mentioned, Isaiah Oliver, and I was like, in my head, I was like, that Isaiah Oliver, and I almost wanted to say I'm sorry, technically, but the reason I didn't was because it was kind of a run-on sentence. I didn't have a chance to jump in, but I so wanted to say that about Isaiah Oliver, but I say it here instead. I'm so sorry. And yes, Steve Wilkes somewhere is devastated that Isaiah Oliver buried on the depth chart. But there's other connections, like we said, about this team. And I think, obviously the obvious one is Robert Saleh, like we mentioned. Kyle Shanahan has, I think, a long history of being pretty good against his former coaches. He has a 9-4 record against Sean McVay. He's 5-1 against Matt LaFleur. Both of those guys are more like the Mike Shanahan coaching tree, but still at different points in time have been under Kyle Shanahan. Mike McDaniel has a 1-0 record over. But the interesting thing is Kyle Shanahan still hasn't played against Robert Saleh or DeMeco Ryans as head coaches. And the interesting thing with that, too, is they're both on the defensive side of the ball. So we haven't really seen how that 1-to-1 matchup is. You talk about offensive coaches and you're not really scheming against each other, really. Like Shanahan isn't scheming against McVay and LaFleur and all those. But this time, it really is, I think, a bit of a chess match against Robert Saleh. But it's been a few years since Robert Saleh's been with the 49ers. So do you kind of see this as being a thing or maybe not so much because Saleh's been away from this team as long as he has been?
I remember, I don't know why I'm losing my voice. I apologize. During the Playmakers podcast, there was a quote from Robert Saleh, who was part of Dan Quinn's staff in Atlanta. And Kyle talked about how he never could kind of crack the Dan Quinn code until he got to Atlanta. And then he just asked Dan Quinn, what were you doing there? And then he found out and he was like, oh, wait, that's all it was. And I always thought that was interesting. It's like, does maybe Robert Saleh have something? I don't know what it is, but maybe Shanahan has a blind spot for whatever that Saleh Dan Quinn scheme was. And maybe Robert, like, he's going to pull it out of his back pocket for this game. I don't know. But I always thought that was like a really interesting comment that Kyle kind of admitted that he never really could quite get a beat on what they were doing, because that's obviously what Kyle is best at. And I think that Saleh, like, he's probably got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder too. Remember, he talked about how like they would go at it when they were both in San Francisco. Like they would be shouting at each other because, arguing over football philosophy. And not to say that like Robert Saleh has hurt feelings, but there is part of like, you don't get into a shouting match with somebody unless you think you're right. And this is Robert Saleh's kind of chance to show that, you know what, maybe I should have won some more of those arguments in San Francisco.
Yeah, obviously some very competitive times between those two, especially in practice. And you're right. I guess like the Dan Quinn thing would be the closest we have to Kyle Shanahan going up against not a former coach of his, but a colleague of his on the other side of the ball. And we've kind of seen how that plays out. And so, yeah, I think Saleh, with some of these former 49ers, but also an awesome defense that he's built out there with the Jets. Also, a pretty good offense. I know you haven't seen it yet with Aaron Rodgers, but I think it's a pretty good team. So, yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting one, and I think it could go either way, but it could still be a factor in this game. Now, I do hope that part of the reason that Brennan Staley was hired for this team is kind of what you mentioned, like being able to see it from that other perspective, being that Brennan Staley is from the defensive side of the ball. I hope he kind of looks at Robert Saleh, but also 49ers offense and say, here are your blind spots. Here's what a defense will want to exploit, right? So I hope that there's some of that and there's preparation around some of the things Saleh might want to do, which I think, Kyle obviously might know some of that as well.
That's definitely one of the things I want to see. How does the 49ers defense look just in terms of down linemen along the line of scrimmage? How many people are, don't have their hand in the dirt? What do they do from that perspective? Do they try and confuse Aaron Rodgers, which is obviously difficult because he's so experienced? But Staley has like no offensive responsibilities. They've basically said like he's focusing on the defense. I know he's the assistant coach or whatever. He's focusing on the defense. I'm still very interested to see the kind of push and pull relationship with Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley and how much influence each one has. So I'm definitely eager to see like the actual debut of this sort of new look, old look defense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's going to be a good week one game. Like, definitely, I'm looking at this one as a challenge. Rob's predicting a shootout, everyone, but I'm thinking it's going to be a low scoring game, like I said. And Rob, it looked like you wanted to take some words back a little bit there.
Not taking anything back. I'm saying Vegas says the over under, I think it's 43.5. So it's
yeah,
not.
But you said you would take it if there was a bet for the 49ers scoring over 20.
Yeah, if they took 23, if they scored 23 points, I would take. This Jets defense is good, man. And I think they're even better than they look because their offense was so utterly miserable last year that they were always back out on the field. It was like Jets make a stop, 3 and out. Jets make a stop, turnover. So their defense, I think, is even better if they actually get to rest because the offense is just competent. I think they could look even better. So yeah, I'm a little worried about having to face that defense for sure.
Okay, so are you saying 20 plus points total for both teams?
If the Niners score 23 points, I would be happy.
Well, yeah, happy, yes, but do you think that will happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't feel great about it.
I'm very confident there.
I know. I don't put any money down, do I?
Because I thought when you said that, I thought you were saying you would take the over on if the 49ers were set at scoring like 20-something points.
No, I would be happy if they scored that. I wouldn't take over.
Well, yes, I would too. All right. Okay. I think we all would be. And yeah, I'm really excited for this game, pumped for it. We got a couple more days to go. Like I said, tomorrow going to be doing my Thursday show with Monica, Football is Sexy. Friday, going to be doing my preview show with Kyle Posey. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell as always, so you know when I go live. Yeah, KP. Rob, what do you got going on at Gold Standard Network? Let the people know and where they can find you.
So just search Gold Standard 49ers on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcasts. You'll find all of our work. Of course, you and Jason host the show on Tuesdays. We call it Bully Ball. Today I did a show with Grant. We talked about the report that he had yesterday that got a lot of 49er fans mad. And we'll still have, we're live every single weekday. So please give us a like, give us a follow. I promise we'll keep earning your time.
You know, in case anyone was wondering my stance on the Grant Cohn report, I'll just say this. It wouldn't surprise me if, you know, people, the higher ups, the millionaires and the 49ers were upset that they spent a lot of money. But I don't think it's going to be something that goes really beyond this month. I mean, sure, you're always mad when you have to spend a little more than you were expecting right at that moment. But after you start using the thing you bought and, like, you know, you forget about it after some time. So I think if they win, if these players do well as they have been doing, I think it's going to be a moot point as soon as the season gets rolling. And I don't think it's something that's going to rear its ugly head. But again, wouldn't surprise me if someone was out there pissed off that they had to spend a lot of money. His name might rhyme with lead, but yeah, well, I don't think it'll go beyond that. He'd be kind of a fool to, you know, let go of Kyle Shanahan just because of that, in my opinion. But Rob, it's yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, normally I would completely agree with you, and I'm pro Shanahan. Trust me, I don't want to see him go away. The only thing that scares me a little is Bill Belichick is out there. The greatest head coach of all time is out there, and if you,
Dude,
I know, but the only way that you
no.
save face if you're Jed York is you say we're firing the guy that couldn't win the Super Bowl, and we're bringing in the guy that has 6. Right? Like,
I mean, okay, yeah, fair. But Bill Belichick looks like a guy who's enjoying his retirement. He's on side quests already. It looks like he's accepting every job that comes to him that isn't like coaching related. So good for him. I just don't know if I see him coming back as a coach. So sure, Jed, if that's your plan, I guess that'd be the only exception. That'd be crazy though, because Kyle Shanahan literally tried to get Bill Belichick in the building this offseason. He declined. So if for any reason, we're talking very, very much hypothetical here. But yeah, for any reason Kyle Shanahan was fired for Bill Belichick, that would be absolutely wild. But yeah, I just don't see it, Rob. So wouldn't surprise me if someone was upset. It's not going to go beyond that, in my opinion. So
I hope not. I definitely hope not.
yeah. Well, Rob, it's been a blast having you on. As mentioned, like he's going to be on the show every Wednesday, and make sure, like, if you haven't subscribed to Gold Standard Network yet, you guys do that. If you haven't had enough of Rob already, you can have him daily on the Gold Standard Network. So tune into that. But for now, have a good rest of your Wednesday, folks. Peace.